When we wanted to find out who we are as a country, we jumped into a camper van and went from Bluff to Cape Reinga looking for answers. Here's what we found. The fairer Britain of the South Seas, that was the promise which lured settlers to New Zealand 150 years ago. There was land enough for everyone, neither landlord nor tenant. New Zealand was a world away from the United Kingdom. Skip forward to 1972, and we were called a quarter-acre Pavlova Paradise, that quarter acre on which every New Zealander could build their hopes and dreams. This story is no longer our story, if it ever was. It's now a story of two different New Zealands. One of those can be found in Southland, and the other in nearby Queenstown, where we met town planner John Edmonds.
In the early 2000s, there was the disconnect between income and property prices became more profound and obvious, so that suddenly fairly basic 3-bedroom units were suddenly on the market for over $500,000 and have continued to head north from there. And the idea of a Pavlova Paradise is probably, it's become less achievable for more people. The idea of a quarter-acre section of land in urban New Zealand is something that is probably the 1970s. It's not something we can really contemplate now as being wise use of our land.
Across the country, home ownership is falling. It's at its lowest since 1951. And in the last 10 years, the price of the average house has increased markedly. But again, there are two stories being told in New Zealand right now. And on the East Cape at Tokomaru Bay, Les Ahuriri is living one of those stories. And he's doing it in the simplest way possible.
The poor bastards. Hey, who'd want to pay $1 million for a house in Auckland? This is my home. Like you say, the more you have, the more you want. What's the big attraction in Auckland?
In Auckland last year, the average house sale earned the homeowner $135,000. The average wage is $47,000. Some have sold up and taken profits for a simpler, mortgage-free life outside Auckland. Kat Jensen and partner Richard Smart have done just that, moving to Tauranga.
So we were living in Auckland and we were living in Takapuna, so we had a cute little place there which we absolutely loved, but the mortgage was also pretty sky high as well. And we just found at the end of every month, after all the bills and everything had gone out, and we both had good jobs and we were doing fine there, but there was just not much left. So it enabled us to come to Tauranga, buy a house and a business.
Research by a Waikato University academic showed that people who bought their houses were more likely to invest in their communities. That academic, Matt Ruskridge, told us how that worked, where he bought his home in North Hamilton.
I live in Hamilton North. I've invested into that suburb because I bought a home there. It's good for my house price and it's good for my quality of life if I work to improve the sense of well-being.
In 10 years, Auckland house prices have risen 84%. In that time, wages have gone up just 30%. It's created a new group of wealthy and increased the number of those who have nowhere to live. As we travelled, many people spoke about Te Puia Marae, which had opened its doors to Aucklanders sleeping in cars. We went to the marae, where we met Blaine Hoiti.
We are doing the government's job because the government has given out funding to all of these social services. This is what social services should be doing. It's no longer about the homeless issue anymore, because the homeless issue is just the icing on the cake. Once you cut that cake open, all the issues roll out. Manurewa used to be the $230, $250 a week area, but 3-bedroom home, 1 bathroom, carport, $570 a week. It's right across Auckland.
Auckland's house prices are like a virus impacting on other communities. The disparity is becoming pronounced in many of our communities. As we drive north, we pass through Kaikoui and Kirikiri. Just 25 minutes drive from each other, they are two different worlds, and both in New Zealand. Only one is a Pavlova Paradise.